Hey ladies, this is Sideline Sisters and I'm your host, Jenny Chaffetz. This is a show for no BS midlife women who want to escape the mundane routine of their lives and be captivated by conversations that are fun, relevant, and juicy. These interviews will take you into the lives of relatable women who've gone on a journey and lived to share the lessons. They will be funny, sad, scary, wise, encouraging, and real. These are the stories you want to hear. This show is your invitation to take back your power, reignite your passions, and step off the sidelines. Let's go! Hey everybody, welcome to this week's episode of the Sideline Sisters podcast. I'm your host, Jenny Chaffetz, and I am so excited to finally be on YouTube. It's taken me a while to figure out how to do video, but as I'm approaching 50, it's all about figuring things out and reinvention. So it's timely that Sideline Sisters branches out to video. So if you have not subscribed to the YouTube channel, please do so. The link is in the show notes. I am so excited about this week's conversation. Today I am bringing you Lisa Niver. She is a Telly Award-winning travel journalist, TV host, and author of the award-winning memoir, Brave-ish. 1 breakup, 6 continents, and feeling fearless after 50. She's explored over 100 countries on all 7 continents, even though you heard me say 6 continents in the subtitle of her book, because now she's reached all 7. She has bylines in USA Today, 10 Best, the Los Angeles Times, and Wired. Host of the podcast Make Your Own Map, Lisa inspires audiences worldwide through her bold adventures, powerful storytelling, and passion for reinvention, which is really what this show is all about. Here on Sideline Sisters, my goal is to showcase women who have done remarkable things in the face of and in spite of challenges. Because I don't care who you are, what your name is, what you have in the bank, or how big your house is, challenges happen. No one escapes without facing something difficult. And so on this show, I want to bring you stories from people that you can relate to. People who can inspire and empower you to face whatever you're facing with newfound strength and confidence. And I think you're going to get that from Lisa today. But before we get into the show, I have to tell you about my exciting new 12-week program for midlife women who want to move from burnt out to balanced. And I know balance is one of those words people are throwing around right now, and there is chatter that there's no such thing as balance. Well, as I discussed with Lisa in today's conversation, it's about perspective. So right now, if you're living in the perception of burnt out, wouldn't you rather live in the perception of balanced? And your balanced is going to look different than someone else's balanced because we're all individuals. So the point is, if you want to shift from the crappy, stressed, and overwhelmed feelings that you have all the time into something that feels better, something resembling balanced, then let's work together. So there's a link in the show notes for coaching application, and I would just love it if you would fill that out so that we can start this process of working together and incorporating coping strategies and skills that will allow you to face the obstacles that are currently in your life and that will inevitably show up and move through them so you can go forward with the feelings you want to have, like joy, confidence, excitement, serenity, and maybe even a little adventure, which is something that comes up in today's show. So be sure to check the show notes for the coaching application. And now let's get into the conversation with Lisa Niver. I am very excited to welcome Lisa Niver to the Sideline Sisters podcast. Lisa, hi.
Hi, thank you so much for having me here, Jenny. It's so exciting.
Oh, good. I mean, maybe not as exciting as going to Antarctica, but exciting nonetheless.
That there's not a lot of things as exciting as going to Antarctica when you've been when your book subtitle says 6 continents and then you get to go to your 7th continent. It was pretty exciting.
Right.
I was waiting.
Yeah. So, I mean, we're just here in regular space and time, and there's no penguins walking by, but we'll make do. We'll make it exciting nonetheless. So I want to get started saying I read your bio to the audience, so they know a little bit about you, but we're going to go way deeper. I find it really interesting that we, on the surface or on paper, have quite a few things in common, you and I. We both went to Penn. We are both Jewish women. We were both teachers at one point. We both, shock of all shocks on my part, we both got to experience the Park City bobsled. Well, however, the differences I think are way more grand in that first, I did not enjoy the bobsled the way you did.
I was terrified. Did you get that part? I was scared, but I loved
Well, yeah, no, I was terrified and hated it. Okay, you taught science. That was the one subject I actually had to like bribe my teaching partner, my grade level partner, to take off my hands. I'm like, load me up on the essays, the poetry, the heavy lifting. Just can you do the science, please? I can't be bothered with that. And that was the subject you taught. So I find that hilarious. And then we'll really get into the dirt here. I have heard you say on many different podcasts that you call your book brave-ish because you didn't necessarily identify as someone brave.
That's correct.
And I'm curious if you would identify as someone adventurous because I, like you with the brave thing, I do not call myself adventurous, but I think that's probably pretty accurate because I don't do adventurous things. You do adventurous things. Is that a word that resonates with you?
Hmm. Okay. Um, that's interesting. I did, that's true. I always talk about brave-ish because I did not feel brave, and that was a big revelation for me doing the 50 challenges that are in my book. Adventurous, I would say I am now. Would I say I always was? I did love growing up. I've been thinking obviously with all that's gone on lately and the horrible situation in Texas with the especially the girls at camp. I've been thinking so much about summer camp, and I did love summer camp. And as my friends have sent their kids away to summer camp, watching them be thinking about their children being away for 2 weeks or 6 weeks. And I used to go away, I believe, 8 or 9 weeks. I was
Mm-hmm.
always really happy to do that. So I think bravery and adventure are a lot about perspective. So
Mm,
what one person can tolerate, another one can't. Just like I actually really like to go to the movies by myself because you're not supposed to talk.
right,
And I know a lot of other people don't want to go to the restaurant by themselves or the movie by themselves or anywhere by themselves. Although in LA, everybody's in their car by themselves all the time. So
right.
a lot of it's perspective. But yes,
Yeah.
I am adventurous. I would agree with you.
It's funny. I heard you talk about the movie thing on another podcast as I was walking through the supermarket one day, and I'm like standing looking at the pasta, nodding my head like, yeah, why? Why do people not think they can go to the movies alone when you're literally sitting in the dark, quiet? Like, if, of all activities, like maybe you don't want to go to Disney alone, or maybe you don't want to go on a sunset cruise in the harbor by yourself. There might be a lot of couples there. That might be awkward. But the movies? It's just like nonsense.
But I think that one of the things that I always talk about when I'm speaking is how small steps lead to big changes. And I think some of the roadblocks we have for ourselves are how we think about ourselves. Like it's not necessarily that people can't sit for breakfast in the hotel alone, because often a lot of people, even if they live in a busy house, they may have a meal alone at their own dining room table. They may have breakfast alone. They may have, if your one kid's at soccer and your spouse is at work, you might have dinner alone. And I don't think people think, oh my God, I can't have dinner by myself. But it's more about the judgment that you walk into the restaurant and the hostess says, just one,
Right. Table for one. Yeah.
just one.
Is anyone else joining you? No.
which, that's not about you. Who cares? And the movie thing too, like show up 5 minutes late. No, you don't have to show anybody, or even going to the theater in New York by yourself. It's sometimes very easy to get a solo ticket because there's, this group of five and this group of two, and there's a seat. And you might get a much better ticket. And again, you're supposed to be quiet and you're sitting in the dark. I think what you bring up though, like the Sunset Cruise, is people want to share the experience. And I appreciate that. And, even going to the museum, like you might see a painting that you love and you want to turn to someone and say, this is what I like about it.
Yeah.
And that's different. But adventure, for me, I'm a scuba diver and we always scuba dive with a buddy. And so if I go by myself, they match me up with someone. And sometimes I get to go with the most experienced dive master because everyone has a buddy but me.
Yeah.
Sometimes I don't. Once I remember did this, I don't remember what cruise I was on, but I went on the kayak expedition and I was by myself and they were all double kayaks. And so the guide was like, why don't you just come with me and I'll paddle? And I was like,
Yes.
okay.
Twist my arm. It's funny that you mentioned that about diving because while I haven't done it in many years, I did get certified and do a bunch of dives over the course of however many years that I was active. And there was one time my husband is tortured by seasickness.
Oh,
So, you often have to take a boat out to a site. And then while you're getting all your gear on, it's the glug, 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 glug. And it's like, hurry up and get in the water so I don't get seasick. Well, unfortunately, the hurry up didn't happen fast enough. And he was like throwing up into his mask under it was a disaster. So he gave me the like, I'm going up signal. And I'm like, what about me? I need a buddy. And so I ended up, he went up and signaled to the one of the guides that was sitting on the boat, or I don't somehow I was matched up with a guide mid dive. And like you said, I don't know if it's the trail of vomit he left or just being with a guide, but I ended up seeing such phenomenal things that I might not have seen if it was the two of us navigating on our own. But it ended up being a fortuitous experience because, here comes the sea turtle and, just
how
great
fun.
things that were a surprise. So yeah, turned out solo diving worked to my
You
advantage.
don't know, but that's the whole part of being on an adventure.
Yeah, so yeah, I guess it's like I guess then I would call myself adventure-ish to match
Okay.
your brave-ish.
I like it.
Oh, goodness. All right, so you mentioned a moment ago small steps.
hmm
I love that. That's come up on this show from various people who have found themselves in challenging circumstances, needing to just take that first small step in the direction that they want to head. You have recounted your story on lots of other shows, so I'm not going to make you do the tell all right here. People can read the book, but I guess there's a couple of things that I'm massively intrigued by. One, choosing to pivot from the straight and narrow from medical school, which is just hilarious because I just interviewed someone who did a hard right from the medical school route to fashion and makeup. So major shift for that life plan. You also did that. So there was that big pivot, and then obviously leaving your marriage. I imagine both of those hurdles involved some small steps.
Um, small steps. Leaving medical school and leaving my marriage. Do you remember the game Shoots and Ladders?
Yeah,
There's you
that
climb all
was
the
that
way
was
up.
one of my favorites. Yeah.
Okay, climb all the way up the ladder and then you're very far back down. I'd say my company going bankrupt after September 11th, 7 days after September 11th, and deciding to come back from Asia after the last day I ever saw my husband. and med school maybe a little bit different, but they didn't feel the same as like choices. It seemed like there was only one choice, and I just had to step through the door. So they were very challenging, hard, traumatic choices. I felt like in a lot of ways my train fell off the tracks. And coming back from those things involved a lot of small steps and dead ends and one-way streets that you're going the wrong direction, and starting over is so hard. No matter how many times you've started over, after the COVID pandemic, I wrote a lot of my book during the pandemic and found my agent during the pandemic. But yes, a small steps always help. And for me, again, scuba diving is one of my big things, is that you need a buddy. And so a lot of getting through all of those challenging times, I needed to lean on other people, my family, my friends, finding community. And those do take small steps. You have to reach out, you have to call someone, you have to get out of your house. Staying in your house all day in your pajamas, probably not going to feel that much better, but maybe.
Yeah.
And sharing. So, for me, writing the book was very cathartic. After medical school, when I decided, I went on a leave for a year. And when I went on leave, I started doing ceramics. I found an art community and I started scuba diving. So both of those things really helped support me when I left school. And when I left Asia and I came back to Los Angeles and I eventually did get divorced, I did go back to art and I went back to teaching. And that was when I first started writing for USA Today. So there was a lot of small steps in a lot of kind of eclectic directions.
That's amazing. And that's so encouraging for people who do feel like either scattered or untethered, that there's hope for them.
Yeah, I mean, there was a lot of crying and a lot of therapy, and had the art things. When had left my husband, I had tried a lot of things. Someone told me you can't do new things in an old way. So I tried kickboxing, which didn't stick, and I, eventually did the 50 challenges, but it was all kind of part of trying to figure out how to get my brain restarted.
So, when you were coming up with the 50 challenges,
Mhm.
were you just like pulling ideas from the sky? Were they things that you heard yourself say over the years, I could never do that, or I wish I could do that? Or were they suggestions from other people? How did the list originate? And then, part B, what from the list, maybe sprinkle in things that you're like, nope, never again, hated that, did it, but no thanks. That was amazing. I'm going to keep that.
So, so in Bravish, we talk about how did it get started. So I was on a press trip in Texas, and someone else was doing 40 things before she turned 40.
Mhm.
And I was really enamored of her project and her, and I kept saying, that's so great, but I could never do that. And finally, after a couple of times that we'd gone through the same, round and round, one of the women took me aside and said, "Can you not do it because you're over 40?" And I said, "Yes." She said, "So do 50 things before 50." And I looked at her, I said, "You do 60 things before you're 60." And she said, "Oh, I would never let these people know how old I am." And I said, "So why should I do it?" And so we were at this conference, and as I was talking with the we had different networking meetings, I kind of was like, well, I'm kind of thinking about this 50 before 50 idea. And a lot of the destinations had suggestions. And I was like, I don't know. That sounds kind of scary. And someone was like, well, isn't that the whole point of the project? And I was like, oh, please don't use my words against me. And that's basically how the list came about. I had an eye issue growing up that hadn't been quite diagnosed. That's in the book. And so a lot of the 50 things kind of came out of that I
Right.
had had a bike accident, and that led to, I had done a skiing project and they invited me for biking and I refused. And eventually I relented and I went mountain biking. So you asked what things have I not done again? I've not rushed back to mountain bike,
Yeah.
It was challenging. I did end up having a great time, but I have not rushed back. And like you already mentioned, the bobsled, I was terrified. I did it. It was really fun.
Oh,
Don't think I'll ever do that again. I don't know how long ago you went. There was a time when it was a much tougher ride. They made it shorter because people were feeling so sick from it.
I mean, I don't know how much shorter it could have been. We got the some kind of a picture at the I don't even I think we got a picture at the end that showed, I guess, kind of like on a Disney ride, like showed the bobsled and it said on it the fastest speed and the length of the ride. And while it felt like, 6 hours, um, it I think was like 66 seconds or something like that, 75 seconds. It was really like,
Well, I guess you're
like
never going again, but it is a unique experience, and the 50 things all were sort of authentic. They either came out of like taking back something that I had an accident from, or skiing or mountain biking. A lot of them were big adventures. Some of them had to do with, I worked on a cruise ship in the industry for quite a long time, but when I was traveling, we didn't go everywhere. So at the time, you couldn't go to Cuba with an American passport. And
right,
so there was a time when it was easier. I did go. And so that was like taking back. I had traveled in the Caribbean on the ship, basically around and around Cuba. And
right,
so it
right.
was great to go there. And then someone had recommended I count up my countries. I have, there's different ways to count. And the Travelers Century Club, I've been well over 100 for a very long time, but on a more traditional counting, I was close. And so I found landlocked countries that I had never been to because of the cruising. Or
Yeah.
there's most people are familiar in Italy that Vatican is inside the country of Italy, but there's also San Marino. So I went there. And
Mm.
it was like discovering little bits. So it was about, my travel career, my scuba love, or my at art. I've done art, like we said, since I dropped out of medical school. And in fact, in college, I had taken a sculpture class, and the professor was amazing. But the woman that ran the studio I was at the time, she said, "Why don't you do a party and make 50 bowls?" And I wasn't sure, like, could I make 50? Could I make 50 in time? And then she's like, you call it a pot party. And I was like, oh, Tawny, that's terrible. Everyone will think it's about smoking.
Right.
And
I know they'll be excited to come to your party, and then all of a sudden they're like, ceramic bowls, what?
I was like, I don't do that. And she said, Lisa, everyone that knows you don't do that. That's why it's funny.
Right.
Sometimes things can be funny. And I was like, all right.
That's good.
So I did it, and I had made them, and everyone came, and it was really fun to have my own show.
That's cute. There used to be a charity near me that did something. It was like Super Sunday or something, soup,
Yeah.
like serve soup. And you went it was all philanthropic based. So you bought the original unique soup bowl, and then there was a whole big soup festival. So you
Oh,
used your
that's
bowl.
fun.
Yeah, yeah, it was very clever. And then you ended up with a piece of art that you're bringing home, you know, a Joe Schmo original. Like it was very cool.
Well, I might have to take part of that.
Yeah, you could start one.
I could start one.
Yeah,
So many ideas.
so many ideas. That's what we do here. We just generate ideas on this show.
Okay, good.
Hey, ladies, I'm interrupting this show to tell you about gentle coaching. If you've been following along, you know I am all about life coaching and breathwork for midlife women. Is that you? If it is, let's go. I have a 12-week package that is designed to take you from burnt out to balanced. So if you're feeling the stress, overwhelm, and chaos of midlife womanhood, I got you. I know all about that life, and I also know how to deal with it. So head to the show notes, click the coaching application, and let's get started. Now back to the show. All right. So speaking of ideas, you have developed a lot of things. You've developed, accomplished, created many different things in your life. And I would love for you to talk about the TV aspect of your life because
Okay.
it's so exciting right now.
It is so exciting. So when I think about things I've created, like I have the podcast, I have the book. I got to be the narrator of the book. Not everybody might know this, but to be the narrator of your audiobook, if you have a publisher, you have to audition.
I heard you say that and I was floored. I had no, I mean, like, is that
Crazy.
really like Reese Witherspoon had to audition to read her teacup book?
I'm not
Maybe,
sure that we want
maybe
to.
not Reese.
I don't. May what ha if you are traditionally published, so my book was published by Post Hill Press and Simon and Schuster. So they gave the rights to the audiobook to recorded books. And then when you work with a team and it's not only you, you have to do what they say and they get to decide who could be a great narrator. So you'd think for a memoir that you want the author, but it doesn't always work out. And you asked what else I created. So I was so fortunate. I work with the Jet Set TV, and this is the
Oh, it's so
Telly Award,
beautiful.
the Niver for my TV segment about Ireland. I got to do a 24-minute travel TV special on the Jet Set TV. It aired last December and also in April, and those two airings together had 550 million media impressions. That's a half a billion. And I won the award. And
Yes.
in fact, one of the parts of it we put on my podcast, Make Your Own Map. This is a first place lifestyle feature for the interview at Giant's Causeway, which is an incredible place in the northern part of Ireland. And Neville, he had so many great stories. We couldn't fit them all in the TV show because 24 minutes just wasn't enough. So he got his own. So it's been quite the summer.
That's just phenomenal. And
Thank you.
so that makes me want to ask you,
Yeah. I feel like I
or
should put these down, but it's so exciting.
no, I mean,
I
hold
just
them.
got
They,
this. I just this
yeah,
is
it's
brand
like
new.
you cradle it. Yeah. You use this word in our pre-show conversation. What does it mean to you to be acknowledged as a winner?
Oh. I think about acknowledgments a lot. Like when I was writing this book in COVID by myself, when I wasn't traveling, and it was so hard to write and so cathartic. And I kept thinking, if it in the end, if it never got published, if I never got agent, it would have been still worth doing. And as far as winning, I've been nominated. I've been very fortunate to be nominated with the Press Club in the Southern California Journalism Awards and the National Arts and Entertainment Journalism Awards many times. In fact, 40. And I've won 11, 10 second and thirds. This is my first. And, to win a Telly for my very first full 24-minute segment, it's incredible to be acknowledged because I'm really do a lot of my work alone and you don't know how you're doing.
Yeah.
It's great to do stuff, but does anybody care? Does anybody like it? I mean, the book has won by itself 10 awards, which is phenomenal. And so it's nice to know that someone's receiving what you're putting out there. I wouldn't not do what I'm doing, but it is nice to get recognized. And just like we had talked also, I had this summer two print stories in the past. I've had five stories in print with them over the last year, but two in this one travel issue for two amazing, amazing stories. This you mentioned earlier, I got to go to Antarctica. So this story is online in Pasadena Magazine, and some of these are my pictures. And then I also have gone twice to walk with the polar bears and trying to make sure I get this
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
picture.
I see them.
That's my picture on the rocks with the mom and the two cubs.
Wow.
It's so lucky to get to go, and it's so lucky to, here I am. It's like I'm in print. There's me. My editor's amazing. So there I am. And that one's me too. But, so this is a win to be in print.
Yeah.
And, there's so many levels of it, right? Like it's amazing to get invited on the expedition. It's amazing to sell the story. It's amazing to win the award. And it's hard to do a lot of work on your own and be creative. Right now is a challenging time. There's a lot of started from before COVID, but during COVID, we lost a lot of the in-flight magazines. It used to be whatever plane you went on, you opened the magazine.
Yeah.
And I've had the joy of being on United, Delta, American, and Air Canada when my story was in the magazine. And I had some cute photos like me and the flight attendant and the print story in my name.
Yep.
Fortunately, all those magazines, I think En route might still exist, the one for Air Canada, but most of them gone. Some of
Yeah.
them still do digital, but it's different. It's fun
Yeah.
to be in print or in a book, and it's a lot of work. So it's nice to win and get acknowledged. So whatever that win is, being in print, having the audiobook, not every book gets an audiobook. Not every book has an ebook. So I have an ebook, a print book, the audiobook, I have the podcast, I have the TV show. Like it's some people say to me, "What do you do?" And I'm like, it's kind of a long story.
I love that.
Sure,
Literally, it's a
literally.
long story.
Long story. Even YouTube, like the this segment is called Celtic Charm, and this so it's on my YouTube as well. So my YouTube is this close to 2.5 million views. It's like 2,400,000, I think, and 30,000 or something.
All
So
right, let's see what we can do to help.
one of my friends was like, "That's a rounding error. Just say you have 2.5 million."
I
I'm
like
very
her thinking.
well, but I so remember when I
Yeah.
was excited that I had 100 views.
Yeah.
Or 1,000 views. And it was quite a while from 1,000 views to a million.
Yeah.
A million to a million and a half, 2 million is like from 2 million to 2.5 million has been a lot faster than from 0 to 500,000. It definitely, you have a few more subscribers, maybe you're a little better known, maybe you're doing bigger projects, but it's
Yeah.
still, you only on everything. You know, one person reads the story, one person buys the book,
Yeah.
one person watches on YouTube. It's interaction.
Yeah. Yeah. I get it. I mean, getting engagement and being engaged is it's work. It takes effort to connect with people as opposed to just, I don't know, like buying billboard space and splashing something up there. I mean, we're in engaging media.
Right. Well, we hope we're
Yeah.
engaging.
Well, yeah, the media itself is an engaging method, and
Yes.
we are engaging with it. Yeah. Um, that was convoluted. Now, I know I've heard you say, so I don't want you to repeat that we're going to take it just a slightly different tweak. I've heard you say, been asked and answered the question about where have you not gone that you want to go, or what's left for you to see. That's not the question.
Okay.
My question is more, what in more of a global sense do you want to do that you haven't done yet?
Yes, that is a question I've been asking myself a lot lately, especially after winning all these awards and having the book and going to my final continent is what do I want to build next? And one thing that keeps coming up from other people is people keep asking me, could they travel with me? And so I've been thinking about if I would go on a cruise and do a writing workshop
Yeah.
or take people somewhere unique that they might be afraid to go on their own. So I think probably for 2026, that's what's going to happen because that keeps coming up.
Mm,
That would be of service to other people in their feeling more brave about traveling, either more about the travel, the writing aspect or the destination aspect. And part of that is what led me. I have a travel writing class, Travel Writer 101 on Udemy. So we can put a link and we can give a complimentary class for your listeners that so many people would ask me how to get started that I made the class because people don't realize it takes a lot right now. It's not like 30 years ago when you were just the writer and they sent a photographer. And now all the editors want not just photos, they want video and they want social media and they want you to be engaged. It's a lot of different skill sets. And so I think it's important for people to understand what that looks like. And like we were just saying, with far fewer in-flight magazines and far fewer print options, sometimes you have to build your own. So I have two websites. I have We Said Go Travel, which I've had since 2010. And then I also have Lisa Niver, because I built that for the book, really, and the podcast and the class. I mean, for a lot of things, but I mean, the trips,
Just those things. Yeah.
just the little things. But that would be maybe where the trips would live. And then for myself, I would love to do some more of the bigger TV segments. Like I've been very fortunate to be on really all the local stations here in LA about my book and to go on and do 3 to 5 minutes, which is, it's so much fun to share about my latest travels. I was on Spectrum News about Antarctica or other places about the book, but doing the 24-minute segment, having the whole segment. I mean, in Ireland, I had an Irish dancing lesson from some world champions, and I got to find out more about how the nuns at Kylemore Abbey make chocolate. And
Wow.
that was really special. And it was just such a great experience. I have been in Ireland several times, and there's an opportunity to fly hawks. So I got to do that, do some
Yep.
falconry on camera. So it's so much excitement. And oh, of course, I hula hooped from a
Yep.
turret of the castle. And who wouldn't want to keep doing more of that?
I mean, is there a way, I don't know if this is your vision or now me just like spitballing for you, but like the way Anthony Bourdain went to all those different places and, had an incredibly exciting TV show from a viewer's perspective to see these parts of the world that I might never go to. And obviously there was a food element to it, like, as he's zooming around the streets of Vietnam and then eating Vietnamese food in some authentic little dive. Is there anything like that in your vision of an actual TV show hosting around the world, like on Travel Channel, or I don't know, does that exist?
Yes, it definitely exists. And if they, let me see, that's not them
Yeah,
calling. No.
no,
So
no. All right,
if
A&E or TLC or whoever does those kinds of things.
that would
Let's
be
go.
amazing. I mean, right now, a lot of the travel content that's out there is either very high level celebrity like Stanley Tucci in
Yep,
Italy
yep, yep. I
and
mean, aren't
Ava
people,
Longoria.
it's like with the Super Bowl ads, like, aren't people sick of celebrities? Like, what happened to normal people?
Well, if there's a producer who's looking for a normal person to lead a travel segment, I think that, the Telly people have spoken. I can't
Yes.
host, and I would love to do more of that. So I have been actively looking. I'm under consideration right now with a production company to do a project this summer in August, and I'm literally waiting that by the middle of July, I should know if I'm going with them or not. So that would be great. And it's possible, maybe I'll get to do another segment in Ireland because there's so much to see there and they know what I can do. And now that I have the statistics and the analytics that it was half a
Right.
billion impressions plus, right? I have written about Ireland for Pasadena Magazine, and I have videos on my channel and all the
Yep.
social posts. So one of the
Yeah, a
things
lot of touch points there.
one of the things I have to put together is like, on my Pinterest, surprisingly, I'm very big at Pinterest. And so there's Pinterest and there's Instagram and there's TikTok and, put it all together. So that's what I have to do. I have to package it up all together and be like, listen, it's a lot of views. It won a lot of awards
People
and
like me.
thank you. And let's go.
Right. Right. Because I mean, I'm all for those I like those celebrities and I'll watch them in movies, but I'd rather see a real person that I could relate to doing these things that I'm maybe looking at as unattainable or scary, intimidating. Well, now you throw in a celebrity and it's even further away from me. It just
I think that's a good point, and we'll see, the pendulum swings. Like Eugene Levy was doing the show with Apple, Frugal Traveler, and I mean, the Finland was one, I believe, the first one, and the cinematography was $1 million quality. I mean, it was spectacular. I definitely wanted to go and do what he did.
mhm,
But I agree with you. There's space for everybody. There's a lot of channels, and so I have to pick up my hustle and do another segment.
right. Yeah, I know we do. We have to advocate for ourselves and make the effort. It's a lot. It's a lot.
It takes some effort.
So, do you ever have moments where you just want to be a homebody?
Yes. So I was at a really fun party during the July 4th weekend, and then the Sunday of July 4th, I literally lay in my bed and binge watched Scandal because I'd never seen it. And so
Right?
I sometimes you definitely have to have a break.
Yeah. I mean, as I said, I don't consider myself adventurous and don't have the travel bug that you clearly,
I clearly do.
yeah, I mean, I often wonder if it's too extreme. Like, I feel like I could be that person that never leaves, that just looks out my window. Oh, it's pretty today. That's nice. And and just appreciates from afar. I know there's nice places out there. Yeah, I don't know. Do you think it's like something you're born with or you learn along the way?
I think that people have different passions. Some people need to be in the water, right? They're going to be either water skiers or divers or water polo players. Some people want to be in their house. Some people can't stand to be in their house. I don't think, I think we're all, unique like our fingerprints, and you just have to find what makes you happy. Some people could talk for an hour about mascara.
Hmm,
That's not me. I'm
right,
I'm impressed and interested, and I want them to help me, but I don't. And I would do one segment with them, but I wouldn't have a mascara podcast.
right,
And so I think that it depends. Like I love to go someplace and the flowers on the table are beautifully arranged, and I'm not terrible, but again, I'm not going.
right,
I'd like to go see the tulips in Amsterdam. I've never done that, but I don't think I will go every year.
right.
So I think it's great that there's so many options. And now with the internet, you can find your people. Like, I only want to be with the roller skaters, or I'm a triathlon, or how can I fix my orchids? Whatever it is, you know, um, I got a new thermostat and it was supposed to go dim after a few seconds and it didn't. So I got on the internet and they
Yeah.
helped me figure it
Found
out.
your thermostat people. Yeah. Right. Pardon the interruption, but I have to tell you about my absolute favorite place on planet Earth. It's called Canyon Ranch. Have you ever heard of it? It is a wellness resort, and there are several locations in the United States. I have been to the one in the Berkshires of Massachusetts, and I'm telling you about it so that you can enjoy 10% off this spectacular place. Everything from the food, the staff, the facilities, the workshops, the exercise classes, the overall vibe, it's first class. So I hope you will check it out. You can book online or over the phone using code SIDELINE to save 10%. And now let's get back to the show. Now, I'm sure you could rattle off a dozen answers to this, but what do you love most
Mm.
about travel? Like do a hierarchy or a top three. What is it about travel that just, I don't know, invigorates you and it energizes you?
What do I love most about travel? I love learning new things. I love new places, but I go back a lot to the same places. Wow, what do I love most about travel? I think what I love the most about travel is it gives the opportunity for perspective and that you can look at yourself from a different perspective, like a different way, that you could try something new on about yourself. Get out of your normal rhythm and see what could happen.
Mm, that's good. I like that. Again, that's attainable. That's relatable. That sentiment. I get that.
I got to interview Lisa Geneva about her book. She's a neuroscientist. She's written a lot of fiction that has been made into movies, but she also has a nonfiction book. She's talking about your brain and remembering. And she talks about the drive home on a different street.
Mm,
You can have a travel experience in your own city. I made a project one year. I went to a museum every month. When I'm out of my home city of Los Angeles and I'm somewhere else, I go to the museum. But I had not always made the effort to make that a
yep.
priority at home.
Yep.
So you can feel like you're traveling. I live in Los Angeles. People spend a lot of money to come here. So
Hmm.
I could take advantage of the beach and the mountains and all the different things that are amazing here.
Yeah. It's so true. Because I mean, even if you live in a place like I do that doesn't have necessarily well-known landmarks, I live in New Hampshire. Like, yes, there's Mount Washington, but aside from that, people might not think of this as a hotbed of attractions. And yet, if I step back, like you just suggested, there is the Frank Lloyd Wright Museum that's like 20 minutes away from me. And we do have a beautiful seacoast, and we do have maple sugaring things. Like there's just a lot of interesting aspects that are nearby in my boring little community just because I don't have, the Golden Gate Bridge or the Hollywood Walk of Fame or the St. Louis Arch doesn't mean I don't have other cool stuff.
It sounds like you have a lot of cool stuff.
I did just make that sound very exciting.
I think you did.
Maybe I should take the travel writing course and really develop this.
Maybe. I mean, I've never been maple sugaring.
And neither have I.
Oh, well, it sounds like it's much closer to you.
Right. But that's the whole point. Like if you're not hanging out at the Getty Museum and I'm not hanging out maple sugaring, we both get to explore our different places.
See?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Um,
exploring doesn't have to involve a flight.
you're right. You're right. Now, you mentioned that there are places that you do go back to.
Yes.
If you could only go to one place ever again, where would you go?
Hmm.
I mean, maybe you could do a hot and a cold. I don't know.
Well, I think that would be hard for me to pick only one place because as much as I love traveling and I love places, I really need my people. So
Hmm.
I guess if I had a big enough house that they could all come visit me, I might pick Park City because I love the skiing and I love the hiking, but I also love scuba diving, so I would probably pick Bonaire.
Okay. Yeah. See a hot and a cold. I love Park City.
Park City is beautiful.
It's so fun.
It is, and I'm so excited for them. They have the Olympics again.
Oh, really? I'm
Yes.
behind the times. I didn't know that.
Yeah, so Los Angeles, we have it again. I was actually
Yeah.
in the
That I knew.
okay, I was helped with the 1984 Olympics, but we have the 2028.
Yep.
And then Park City had, I think was 2002, and then I'm not sure, I think they have 2034.
Okay. All right.
Not
Well,
just around the corner, but coming.
yeah. I mean, they have the infrastructure, so there you go.
I think that's going to be more and more common to repeat because it is a lot of building required.
Yeah. Yeah, that's insane. Yeah, I mean, Olympic Park is beautiful outside of the bobsled experience. It is still a very fun place to go. I mean, you get to see people training. It is a cool excursion for anyone who's in that area.
Yes.
So worth a trip. Uh, wow, Lisa, this is fantastic. So as we wind down, from all of your personal hurdles and professional accomplishments, what pieces of advice can you offer midlife women who are maybe seeking some adventure or something new.
I think the best advice is to be kind to yourself, that it's very easy to label yourself. I know when I was getting divorced, I felt like a failure and I felt embarrassed and I didn't want to talk about my story and it made it hard to connect with people. And sometimes I think about, we talked briefly that I was a teacher, you were a teacher. I taught everything. I taught preschool up through middle school. And I think about when a baby is learning to walk and, the baby like climbs up on your leg or on the table and maybe takes one step and falls down. And do we look at the baby and say, that was so terrible. You're never going to learn to walk. And in fact, no, we were like, oh my gosh, that's so great. You took one step. Maybe tomorrow take two steps. It's so exciting. Someday you'll walk, blah, blah, blah. And we're so excited. We are not like that for ourselves. I watch a lot of the people that come into my art studio and take the one-time class, and it's fascinating to see the variety of people respond to trying something they either did once in middle school or never. And I'm fascinated the people whose stuff does not look like anything and they're super proud because they did it, or the people who want to give up, or the people who are like, hey, I've never done this before, I'm trying. And I'm also fascinated who lets the teacher help them. That there's a lot of people that are like, no way, don't touch my art, I don't care how it looks, I have to do it myself. And the people that are like, yeah, help me, I've never done it before, I want to get the feel. Let me give you an example. When I went to walk with the polar bears, I was in Winnipeg first, and I said I love to do art, and they said they would get me a soapstone carving class. So I've never ever carved anything before. And so when I went to class, I told the teacher I wanted a polar bear and he helped me pick my stone. Some people, no, the teacher could not help them. I picked this, I want this. And he was like, well, it will be hard to use this stone for the shape you want. They're like, I don't care. And I was like, change my stone. And
Right.
then as we were going through the different steps, he did help me. He was like, can I help you? I'm like, yes, help
Yeah.
me.
Yeah.
And mine looks awesome.
It's amazing.
I love it. It's
I
actually
thought you were going to say someone gifted that to you.
no, I made it with my teacher.
Wow. So far.
And
Yeah.
if you want on my YouTube, you can find pictures. You can see this go from a block of stone and all the different steps. Soapstone is so soft. You use the similar tools to wood carving, and we had rasps and files. And then you don't know what color it's going to be till the very end, and you put it in the water and you put oil on it. But I love to have this on my desk that I didn't have to figure it out all by myself. I had a teacher. So if people are looking for big changes, I recommend, find a buddy, ask for help, take a class. You do coaching, maybe they want to do coaching with you, that it's okay to need help and to think about little baby steps, like a literal baby. I always say small steps, but I think that we're not very kind to ourselves. So, a way to be kind is to be patient with yourself, and probably whatever situation you're in didn't take one day to get in it. It's not going to take one day to get out of it. And, if you hate your boss or your relationship's not working or you're moving to a new city, might take a little while. So, take the drama down, find help. Like if you were going to run a marathon, I don't think you'd sign up and just go. You'd be like, oh, I'm going to do a 5K. I'm going to find a running group. But we're not
Yeah.
that good about other things. Like it's okay for someone else to read your resume or have a headhunter. Or,
Right.
you know, this was not day one. I did not win a Telly Award on day one. I have 2.5 million views on YouTube. I have 2,000 or 2,500 videos. I have TikTok. I have this. I have that. I have a book. I have a podcast. It wasn't day one.
Right.
Yeah.
When you rattle all that off, it's like, well, it's about freaking time then.
Well, that
No, I'm just kidding.
I agree. But um, you know,
Like, finally, I was acknowledged by someone besides my reflection in the mirror.
it depends what you want. Like you were asking, where would be the only place you go? I'm like, oh my gosh, I have so much on my list. I want to explore more. Like, it's interesting that in my book I talk about going to the Travel Classics conference, and because of Travel Classics is a lot of how I ended up being able to do this TV special. But from the very beginning, the woman in charge, when I first wrote to her, I wrote to her and I said, I don't think I have the qualifications to come. And I said, do you have a video conference? Because I'm better at that. And she said, why don't you just come and we'll see how it goes. And I went to the conference, I met with all these editors, and I sold 3 stories. And I called her to apologize. And she said, why are you apologizing? I said, oh, I tried so hard. Everyone seemed interesting, but I only sold 3 stories. She said, Lisa, most people barely sell one. So it's hard to know when it's enough, And I think that, I guess, another thing besides being nice to yourself and asking for a buddy is just ask. Like, I did not have the 3 print clips that I needed to apply to the conference. So I said, what can we do here? Does video count? And once when I went to the conference, I made a bunch of videos because that was just what I do. And then they were like, can you come back and do that again? I was like, oh, you liked it? So I guess be kind to yourself and do follow what intrigues you. Like I loved scuba diving, which led me to Club Med and cruise ships and traveling and all this journey. I mean, I remember when I met my agent and he was like, can't you publish something in the LA Times or the New York Times? I'm like, do you think I'm not trying? And so I'm like, do you think they
What a
call
great
me
idea.
hang up on them? So after the book came out, I was able to publish my first story in the LA Times, which was amazing. But
Uh-huh.
it didn't all happen in the way I wanted or the way my agent wanted, or even finding an agent. Oh my gosh, there's a lot of
I mean, starting a podcast and it's, I mean, maybe you experience this on yours as well, but it's like, okay, how do I get Reese Witherspoon? How do I get Christina Applegate? I say I don't interview men, but I always hold a space for Andy Roddick. Okay, well, they're, I'm not hanging up on them. It's not like they've called and I have denied them a spot, but it doesn't happen on day one either. And I
No,
have to
and
keep,
things sometimes you don't know. I used to write for Thrive Global, and I used to do these, honestly, what I thought were kind of wacky mashups. And I did one that was a book from Deepak Chopra, who I think is amazing, and this other woman, Jen Sincero. And
Mhm.
after it came out, I sent it to both their teams. They had not given me the book, they had not given me interviews, but I always send stuff out. And Jen Sincero's a sensation and very busy, and I never heard from them.
Right.
But I did hear from the Deepak Chopra team.
Wow.
And I was like, wait, this isn't what I thought was going to happen. And they said, would you like to interview him? And I said, yes. And then in the process, the person that messaged me had a lot of clients. So first he was like, oh, could you interview Tiffany? I think it was Tiffany Paulson. She had like the producer of Holiday, which at the time was the number
Oh,
one movie on Netflix.
loved it.
So I interviewed her. And then I was like, okay, I interviewed her. What about Deepak? And he was like, actually, his daughter Malika, her book just came out. Why don't you interview her? I was like, okay. So I interviewed her. And then eventually I had this idea and I pitched him, even though he had been pitching me anyway. So I got the interview with Deepak. And because in that intervening time, I'd interviewed his daughter, when he came on my show, I introduced him as Malika's dad.
That's hilarious.
And so we had this really interesting, different, genuine conversation because mostly he gets interviewed as like America's guru.
Right.
I was like, so about Malika, she's so awesome.
Let's talk about you being a dad.
We had a really phenomenal, real, great
Mm.
time. So you don't know. I never expected writing for Thrive Global and making my weird mashups. Like I did one with sliding doors and this other book about a guy who writes about his wife had done this New York Times story, you should marry my husband. She knew she was terminally ill, and it was again kind of a weird mashup, but you don't know where things are going to go, and that's what appealed to me, and so that's what I wrote, and it led to me and Deepak.
Wow. Yeah, I mean, I'm still holding
So
the
you might
vision.
get all those people.
Yeah, it's still no, I don't say it too jokingly. I'm like, no, 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 someday Christina Applegate's gonna say yes.
I think so. I mean, all the people I've interviewed, I am so grateful that they're willing to take the time and that they're interested, and you don't know.
And let me add, by wishing for Christina Applegate, I mean no disrespect to you
Of
because
course not. I know.
I reached out to you.
Yes,
So
of
it's
course.
right.
And
So
I
it's
appreciate that. Thank
yeah,
you.
so it's like everyone that's been on this show, whether it's, I'll like drop the names of the bigger ones just to, I don't know, open a conversation with someone. But it's like I'll tell my friends, well, I interviewed my favorite psychological thriller author, B.A. Paris, but I also interviewed a woman talking about her brother's suicide
Hmm.
and how that led her to a healing journey and living every day like it's the last and just her message. So it's like every conversation has value.
Yes, and it's I think that you begin with kindness, especially to yourself, and think about how can you move forward. And all of us have days where we want to pull the covers over our head, and you just need a little bit to lean on your team, whether that's family or friends, or some people write a gratitude journal, because you just never know. I try to remember for myself that when someone says no to me, that maybe something better is coming. A lot of agents either ignored me or said no to me until I found Chip, and Chip was a real champion for Bravish. And then when we found Debbie at Post Hill Press, we had prepared for the meeting, and I had, had a special coaching session to like be prepared, and we got on the call, and I was like, what is happening here? And afterwards my agent called me and he said, that wasn't what I thought was going to happen. I was like, that was not what I was thought was going to happen, because she was just like, I want this book.
Wow.
We were like, okay,
Right.
thanks. Who knows, and then there's so many ways it all ravels and unravels, and then at the end of the day, you have a polar bear and a telly, and you say, thank you.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Thank
be
you,
grateful.
Lisa.
Be
Yeah.
grateful.
Well, thank you to you. So I know you have a ton of links that
Oh
will
my
be in
gosh,
the show
yes.
note, but just in general, what do you want the audience to leave with?
I think the most important thing, we've had a lot of challenging, traumatic times. It's, I think 641 days of the hostages that we've been waiting and praying for. And now the sad news out of Texas with the floods, that the best and most important thing we can do is, hug the people that we love, and tell them that we care about them. And when we feel challenged, to ask, reach out and try to get help. And I do think that if everyone could try to be just a little bit more brave, whatever that means to you, they go to a different restaurant, go to the movies alone, tell your boss what you do want with your life, or find a way to do it on your own, that that we can keep searching for joy. And for me, travel brings me a lot of joy, and sharing that travel, like with my travel class or the book or the TV segments or the podcast or the YouTube or the social media. It is a lot when I say it all at once, I know, but I hope that everyone finds this space to, be creative in their own way. It doesn't mean that everyone has to go to the art studio or write a symphony or have their own blog, but maybe they like decorate their dinner table or whatever makes you feel joy.
Mm, so good. So good. All right. So everything's going to be in the show notes, the book,
Thank
the podcast, the links to see the segment. Yes. Anything you want them to know will be there. So
Thank you.
everybody check out what Lisa's doing, get the book, follow her journey and continued journeys, because I'm sure there will be many.
We
And
hope.
I want to invite you to raise a glass and let us say cheers to, we don't have to figure everything out right now. We can take small steps and ask for help.
Cheers.
Cheers.
L'chaim.
Yes, l'chaim. So good. Lisa, thank you so much for everything. And I wish
Thank
you,
you.
I wish you continued success.
Thank you. And I wish everybody safe journeys. And I can't wait to watch Christina Applegate on your show.
From your lips to God's ears. How amazing was that? I am fairly certain, after everything she has done and appears to be currently doing, Lisa Niver is officially brave. Yep, brave, full stop. Now, let's get into Lisa's notes from the sidelines. Number one, being brave and adventurous has to do with perspective, how we think of ourselves and the judgment we're perceiving. Number two, small steps lead to big changes. That's just a theme on this show. Number three, starting over is hard, no matter how many times you've done it. Number four, like scuba diving, in life, when it comes to challenges, you need to lean on a buddy. Number five, you can't do new things in an old way. Number six, acknowledgement is validating, especially when you do your work, your hard work alone, and can't really tell if it's impactful. It's okay. It's nice to be acknowledged. Number seven, find what makes you happy and do it. And with the internet, it's way more accessible to find your people. Number eight, travel lets you learn new things and gives you the opportunity for perspective. You get to try on something unfamiliar. Number nine, you can have a travel experience without getting on a flight. You can do it in your own city. Number 10, be kind to yourself. It's easy to label yourself a failure when you do something wrong, but seriously, do we call babies failures when they're learning to walk and continuously fall down? I don't think so. We need to stop doing that to ourselves. And number 11, when someone says no to you, maybe it means something better is coming along. Doesn't that sound good? So thank you, Lisa Niver, for coming here and sharing your personal story and your really bright, cheerful perspective on how we can begin to feel brave-ish. I love that. And everybody go check out her book and maybe create your own list of things you want to do and then do them. That's the key. Do them. So I hope you all enjoyed that conversation. And if you did, please share it with a friend, especially someone who might be approaching a milestone birthday or feeling the clock ticking and in need of some encouragement, some fun. Let this episode be the thing that reinforces that we are not old, we are not done, and we just have to decide to do things. So once again, thank you for listening. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you for liking and sharing and talking about Sideline Sisters. And if you have decided you want to work with a coach to build inner strength and confidence, then I hope you will choose to work with me at Gentle Coaching. You will find in the show notes a link to the coaching application. So just fill it out and let's get started. I wish you an amazing week. I'll see you right back here next time. Cheers to you.